I was
Cool.
trying to make myself taller. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, so the people that are new to our little mastermind is so Kathy and I have been in the business well over 30 years. We have sold over 5,500 homes and about $1.5 billion in real estate. We do have a small team here in Ann Arbor. We believe that I'm a big leverage person. I believe that if you find the right people, put them in the right positions for them to succeed. First of all, you're going to have a long-standing team, and everyone's going to be happy. So the things Kathy is good at and enjoys doing, I would rather poke a pin in my eye, and not do those things. And so the things that I focus on personally now is listing. So pretty much 90% of what I do is listing houses and negotiating contracts, which I'm a big 90-10 person. First of all, I think 90% of realtors are idiots, 10% are real estate professionals. It's my thought. So again, you can bleep it out if you don't want like it. The other part is 10% of what we do produces 90% of the results. Okay. Keller Williams uses the big rock thing, which is an apt, it's apt. But what you'll find is that if you go down into minutia of your business, you're going to find that there's going to be one or two things that's going to generate a majority of your business. And then the other part that I like about having a team, and true story, is I made more money when I was solo. Okay. And when I only had a couple people on my team, I made more money. But as you get older, y'all are young, you'll get to that point where you're my age, but you find that the most valuable commodity is time. Time with my significant others, time with my brothers and sisters, time with my grandbabies. And that is my most valuable commodity. So I make less money with a team, but I'm 10 times happier. And I have the time and I can focus on this part. And so let's kind of get into it. So the first question I want to ask y'all is,
Y'all, you moved down to Tennessee?
well, I talked to Lucas. He's from San Antonio, so I wanted him to be impressed that
Y'all.
I am a chameleon, and that's one of the things I have to be on a listing appointment is y'all want to come down now? Anyway, but the first question is, what percentage of homeowners list with the first agent that they talk to?
I got it right.
What do you think?
It's very high in my opinion. I think it has to be, it's over 50, but maybe 70%.
Lucas.
I'm gonna say like 92%.
It's 82, 81, 82%. Okay. So that's why, and the reason I want to go over that real quickly is that's why it's so important for you to nail the listing appointment. Okay. Because the only way that most sellers are probably not, I mean, and some people may even have 1, 2, or 3 realtors lined up, but if you nail your listing appointment the first time around, I go until, in full disclosure, our 90% success rate, I would say 80%, 70 to 80% of my business is come list me's, which are, my brand has been out there. They know I do a lot of business in the area. It's referrals from our sphere of influence. And it's just people that know us. And those people pretty much, I would have to fall on my face in order to not get that listing. Okay. So that's why we get a lot, but I also do compete where there's 3 or 4 agents competing for the listing, right? But I actually like not being the first one in. Let's say they're doing 4. I never ask who the other people are. I could care less, right? I know what I can do. So I love it when they get one person in, I'm the second person or the third person. And then when I come in and do my thing, and just kind of, I mean, this is all, there's no sales part of this. This is all what we do. And we're articulate. We understand our value proposition, things like that. We walk away with probably around 92 to 93% of every listing we go after by these simple steps. Okay. So that's why it's important for you to, and we'll go over our steps, but one last thing, Kathy loves it because I just meander sometimes. The other aspect is we all have different personalities. Okay. Believe it or not, I'm an introvert by nature. So we have to kind of find what works for us. So you're gonna look at how we do it and you go, oh, I like that. Oh, that's stupid. That sucks. And then you've got to incorporate it into your personality and how you do business and things like that. And that's why I always say, go on as many of these training things that you can get on, and you're going to go, oh, I like this. I like that. Hey, that was way better than Dave's thing here and stuff like that. That fits my personality. Okay. So that's one of the things I just want to put out there. And then the other thing is for your listing appointments for the people on the call, and anyone that I always love it if you have your camera on and I can see you. But this is interactive. Please be interactive. Please ask me questions. Please say, Dave, you're full of shit. That does no, I don't like that.
Yeah.
We
gotta
like
raise
that.
your hand vigorously if you want to get a word in edgewise.
But let's be interactive with this, okay? And then so who does anyone understand the difference between a one-step and a two-step listing appointment? And does anyone now when you go on a listing appointment, is it just one step or do you do a two-step? And I'll go over real quickly what it is. Back in the old days, we would go do an initial walkthrough of the house, and then we would come back a second time, and then we'd have these little chart things where we'd go over and it'd actually show the differences, this, that, and the other thing. And then Al Gore invented the internet. And so we were able to kind of put that into a spreadsheet and all kind of stuff. What I ended up finding out was most of the people that I went and did a two-step process for were like, dude, really? You need to do a two-step? I want to know now. And there's three things that a seller wants to know. That's it. Three things. I shouldn't use that finger. What's my house worth? What am I going to net from the sale of the home based on the value you came up with? And why should I hire you? What sets you apart? That's your value proposition. If you can articulate those three things, you will be successful. Okay. So let's get into the steps of what we do. So we have a 5-step process for a successful listing appointment. The first one's the initial phone call. Okay. So let's say you've done your prospecting, everything like that. You sent out a mailing into your neighborhood. Somebody calls you, right? So what do we want to do on that first phone call? Here's my philosophy on sellers, okay? I don't care if it's a $5 million house or if it's a $100,000 house. Sellers pretty much want the same thing, okay? If they wanted anything to do with the sale of their home, they do it themselves. They wouldn't be calling you. What they want is someone, they've got a full-time job. They want someone to come in and take control of the process. And how do you start that? It's with that initial phone call, okay? So what you want to do with the initial phone call, and a couple little tricks on that too, is you want to show that you have knowledge of the area. So I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. If I get a call from Westland, Michigan, that I don't know like the back of my hand, a couple little tricks that I will do is a lot of times I don't pick up my phone on the first call if they're not in my phone and stuff like that, but I get a phone number. So I'll Google their phone number and it'll come up with an address, okay? And so, and I can see it's from Westland. It's like, I don't know Westland that much, but I'll see where their house is. I'll look at a couple of major cross streets or anything. Then I call them back and they go, well, my house is located in Westland. Do you do Westland? Of course I do Westland. We sell a lot down that general area. And what's your address? They tell me their address. Oh yeah, that's right at the corner of the intersection of Maybach and Burns, right? How did you know that? You know Westland. So we kind of, they immediately, what does that tell them? Oh, he knows my area. He knows it. And then the other part that I kind of do is most of the places I know that people are calling me, I'll go, oh gosh, do you eat down at Ziggy's down the road for your hoagies and pizza? Oh my gosh, we were just there yesterday. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to, there's a little bit of friction because you're the big bad realtor that they heard all those bad things about in social media and all this other stuff that we're out to steal their money and stuff like that. What we're trying to do is break down those walls, and we're trying to become human, okay? And we make connections based on similarities. So by the time I'm done with this call, we're on our way to being best friends and going down to have a beer down at the local tavern, even before we meet. That's the type of thing you're trying to build rapport. The validity and credibility are other things you're trying to establish. So there's nothing more than just, this is all dating. Working with buyers, working with sellers, it's dating. Think about how you date. And you've got it, you do the dance to begin with as far as getting to know each other to see if you want to take that next step. And what that next step is scheduling an appointment, okay? A physical appointment. And so different people do things different ways as far as some people will ask for the appointment rather, hey, you know what? The best thing I think for us to do is after you've built the rapport, you've kind of gone over their where they're located and things like that. Sometimes they'll tell you what their plans are, right? I don't delve a lot into, oh, so are you looking to stay in the area? Are you looking to move? Things like that. I am better with people in person, much better in person. I'm 6'4", 250 pounds, a presence and things like that. So I like to utilize that. We all have attributes that we want to utilize, okay? So I know for a fact I'm better in person than I am on the phone, email. Hey, best way to miscommunicate with somebody, text them or email them. And until I develop that rapport, the credibility and validity, I want to be on the phone with them because I can listen to the tonality. But more importantly is I want to be in person. I want to be in front of them. When we hire somebody, they are coming in front of us. No Zoom calls, no any of that. Your butt's in my office in front of me, okay? Because you can read people. A lot of people can't lie with their bodies. They can with their mouth. And so you can find out exactly what the deal is. So I like to get to an appointment rather quickly after that part saying, oh man, that's wonderful. Gosh, I can't wait to meet you. When would be a good time for us to get together and so we can come through the house, and what I would like to do, so this is important, okay? What I would like to do, Lucas, is I would like to do a walkthrough of your house. Once I get there, I'd like to start with doing a walkthrough of the house where we go around the house. I can see all the upgrades that you've done. I can see the characteristics of the property and all the things that will help me sell the property. But Lucas, just so you know, I'm also going to make some some suggestions about things that you could do to improve the resale. And it may be little things like maybe a switch out of some flooring or some painting and things like that. And that's going to help us, it's up to you if you have the money or want to do that, but I am going to do that. And I'm going to tell you those things because when we talk about the value, I am going to go over what it will be worth as it is. And also if you make these small little improvements, what I think I can sell that for. Does that make sense, Lucas? Great. So then what we'll do, then what
You
we'll
want to ask, see if anybody has any questions? Take a breath. No?
Oh, I think that
Yeah, going right
I think
along.
everyone here is assertive. I think they'll raise a hand and they'll stop me saying, yo, Dave,
That's
yo.
what I just did.
That's the
Because
best
you
way.
didn't feel
One
like
of 12 kids. Yo. Okay. So Lucas, after we do that walkthrough, what I would like to do is we're going to go down, we're going to sit down and we're going to go over the information about what has sold and what's currently available on the market. And the reason I do that, Lucas, is I like to go over comparable sales because I have to sell a house twice. Lucas, first person I have to sell it to is the easy part. That's the buyer. But we also have to sell it to another party. Guess who that is? The appraiser. There you go. So what we want to do is we want to go over comparable sales so that we have the information to assure that I'm going to be able to get the appraiser to agree with us that the house is worth this amount. Does that make sense, Lucas? And what the solds are going to do is it's going to give us the range that we are going to list in, okay? So this is going to give us a range. And again, we'll go over the marketing plan where I say at the end of the day, Lucas, what I think your house is worth, nobody gives a shit what I think. I don't say shit. No one cares what I think, Lucas. What you think your house is worth, it is important. I disagree with people who say it's not important. It is important because you've got to feel good about an offer you take or don't take. But what we want to find out is what a buyer that's pre-approved with money in their pocket, because guess what? If they show our property, they're also going to be showing our competition as well. And eventually, Lucas, the market's going to tell us what the house is. Okay.
Are you still on the phone call?
No, we're past the phone call. Oh, no, yeah, we're still on the phone call. Yep, we're still on the phone
Curious
call.
If you're still telling them.
Yep, we're
all
still,
these steps,
because,
you're
yeah,
going
no,
through the
because,
steps.
because you want, why are we doing the phone call? Steve, why are we going through all this at the end of the call? What are we doing this for?
Because you want to build rapport and get them to know your personality a little bit before you step in the house. And like I always, for me, it's always like if I'm at the house, if I'm at their door, like it's my listing. It's not anyone else's. That's how my mindset has always been.
And you're starting that with this last part of the phone call too.
Yeah.
What you're basically doing is saying, I'm coming in. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And what did we talk about? Whether it's 100,000 or a million, 2 million, they want this off their plate. They want to feel comfortable giving you the largest financial asset they have, right? So we want to structure it before we even walk in the door. We basically have the listing 75%. We'd have to fall on our face or be very unarticulate or something like that in order not to have listing. We have it 75% locked up before we walk in the door.
So
Okay.
you're still setting expectations at this point.
Correct. Yes. And so, Lucas, what we're also going to do is go over the competition because everything in life comes down to supply and demand. So if a buyer's looking at your house, guess what they're going to do also? They're going to look at our competition. So what we want to find out is, what are they priced at? What do they have, et cetera. So Lucas, what that's going to do, so we talked about the sales, comparable sales, that gives us our range. What the competition does, it helps us narrow it down to where we think within that range that we should be. Does that make sense, Lucas? And list price always comes down to two things, Steve. Guess what the two things the list price comes down to? Only two. What are they, Steve?
It's what's currently on the market and what has recently sold.
Competition and
recent comps.
Motivation of
And
seller.
what a buyer's willing to pay, excuse me.
No, motivation of seller. So let's say a seller has been transferred to San Antonio. They live in New York, and they have just been told that they need to be out in San Antonio within 30 days. That person's probably more motivated than the person that calls you up and says, Steve, hey, I just want to test the market and see what happens. Okay. So that tells me where in that range we should be. The other aspect of this that we kind of go over is where in this range is we are finding here in Michigan that if we price it more toward the lower end of our range to try to create a competitive situation with multiple offers and things like that, we're finding 90% of the time they are going to make more money listing at the bottom end of the range because, yep.
So something I say, just going off that, is the list price is just a marketing tool to attract buyers. It's not necessarily the value, but we want to make it attractive so we could create that highest and best type of situation.
Correct. Because what we want to do is we want to create escalation clauses. We want appraisal gap language. We want people to waive inspections and all this kind of stuff. And I use the eBay effect where someone can push a button now and buy a watch for $100, but they get caught up in a bidding war and they pay $200 for the exact same watch that they can go over and buy for $100. Emotion comes into this. And if you've done a good job with all this other stuff we're going to talk about, I mean, it makes sense to most sellers too, especially when you're saying it like this. I mean, they're like, oh my God, it's the gospel. I can't, this Dave is saying it must be. That's kind of the feel that you want to get. So Lucas, does that make sense? So, and then after that, what we want to do is I want to go over an estimation of proceeds with you. So we've told you all the things that we've told you the range and everything. Now I want you to get a real world snapshot of what you're going to walk away with. So we'll go through the fees that you're going to have. It's going to tell you basically an out the door price right there. A lot of realtors don't do this step. And I think it's a big, huge mistake. I put it right in front. So I had commission conversation or any of that kind of stuff before I go over my value proposition. Okay. And then Lucas, after we go over those, I'm going to go over my marketing plan or what I call my value proposition, or third thing I call is why I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. And of course I laugh and chuckle and stuff like that. But this is going to, because people want to know what sets you apart. And if you come across with all the different things that you're going to do, they're not even thinking about talking to somebody else. They're just like, oh my God, Steve's the greatest thing to sliced bread. Oh my God, this is my boy. I'm going to listen to my boy. At that point, you're their boy. So that all makes sense. And then we're going to go with the value proposition. And then we say, so Lucas, when would be a good day and time to meet? Okay. And then we set that up. So first step, does that all make sense for everybody? Griselda, does that make sense for you too? Yes, she'd had a hard time last week too. So that's step one. Does that all make sense for it? Does. Okay, I like it. So the second one is.
I have a question for you on that actually. So you're talking phone call, right? So in a perfect world, how long is that phone call for you?
However long it needs to be, because every client's a little bit different. If they're more like me, it'll probably be 10, 15 minutes at most. Most of them are like 5 to 10 minutes because like a lot of my calls are more like, oh yeah, they recommended me. Yeah, I sold their house there and stuff. Yeah, we ended up selling that for $45,000 over list price. Crazy, man. Yeah, they told me a great, so at that point, it's just, that's you, Luke. You're probably twice on here.
Yeah, you're on here twice. We don't care. We figured.
You're so good. There's two of you.
Got a twin.
Yeah. So I would say typically 5 to 10 minutes. Now there's some that are more icebergy that I've got to work a little bit and try to find some commonality, and I'll work, I will keep on having that conversation until I get some warmth, because I don't like the friction either. And if you end that phone call where I haven't developed the warmth, two things. One is that it's going to be a tough listing no matter what. I'm going to have a tough second appointment. I have to decide if I even want the listing almost then. Because I have found through my experience that people that are certain personality or things like that are pains in the asses to deal with that I don't even want to deal with. So and another thing that I sometimes bring up, and I don't know if you guys do also, you guys and gals, is sometimes I bring out hey Steve, just so you are interviewing me for the job, but I got to be honest with you, Steve. I'm also interviewing you whether I want to take on this listing as well. We're very particular in who we decide to help with. We spend a lot of time, and we have a lot of people that that depend on us. And so I'm interviewing you to make sure that I want to take this listing as well. I don't, that can sometimes come off as cocky more than confident. So I don't use that very often, but I do use it sometimes, especially when I am really do I really want to work with this person? And I want to see the reaction to that phrase. So it's all about reading people. That's what this whole job is. All right. Good. Going on to step number two. Step number two is the walkthrough. Okay. And so the other part that I want to say about the walkthrough is, so this is a big debate in our industry. I am a big person of dress for success. And that can mean so many different things in so many different areas. one of our top buyers agents in the past wore a hoodie, sweatpants, Jordans, and a backwards hat or a hat.
This was
A woman. It was a woman. That was her thing, right?
was.
So that was who that's who she was, and that was the clients that she catered to. How I'm dressing here, I'm in a suit with a collar. This is about as casual as I get. I will do sport coat and pants depending on different things if I don't know the person. Because if you're wearing just like a shirt and some khakis and stuff like that, make sure they're pressed. Make sure make sure you look professional. And it's not about wearing a suit, wearing a tie. It's whatever you have, make sure it looks professional. Because these people are going to be entrusting you with the largest asset they have. Now, should you dress differently for a $100,000 client than a $2 million client? What do you think? I'm curious what you say, because I have my thoughts as well.
I know.
The right answer is no, right?
You should really
My
treat
answer is
every
no,
client.
correct.
Yeah.
My answer is no.
My answer is if you're not genuine,
To yourself.
I have a whole problem with all of this because it's all
Be authentic to who you are, you know, like you said, look professional.
But $100,000 seller will just appreciate just as much that you show up looking professional as a $2 million person, a $2 million listing. So 100%. And if you're wearing clothes that you're not comfortable in, you're not going to do very well with your appointment either. So, and if I don't know someone, I mean, I kind of, I'm just, hey, this one right here. First time she saw me in a sweatsuit and some shorts and stuff like that, it took her 10 minutes to even figure out who I was. She didn't recognize who I was. And in all our branding and things like that, I'm in a like this. Yeah, but she didn't recognize me for about 10 minutes. And she said, "Oh, I don't like that." So even she
We're
was
over that
judgmental
now.
about it. Yeah. So I just wanted to go over that real quickly. Be professional, okay? Because that's the old, how you tell your seller you never get a second chance to make a first impression? Same thing with this. And you got 2 chances to screw that up. One is that phone call. So that's why you want to come off being very professional. That's a first impression. And then when you meet them physically for the first time, that's another first impression, okay? And you want the 2 to jive as well. Make sense? Okay, so we kind of talked about what we're doing with the initial walkthrough. This is our ability, again, to build rapport. And what I do is I go through, and the stuff that I love, oh my God, is that Pellador? Oh my God, that's gorgeous. That must cost $5,000. $6, Dave. And oh my gosh, premium granite, OG edge, oh shit, soft close, oh yeah, cool. So I accentuate what I like, and I'm genuine.
Really sound.
But I'm being genuine. I really like the stuff. And then if I see like carpeting that's just shredded and the dog just ripped it apart, say, you know what? I mean, this would probably be a good thing I don't think carpet cleaning is going to do. I think this would be I think we should replace carpet. And one of the things you'll find is most of the people know exactly what they should be do. And they're just going, yeah, we knew we were going to have to replace the carpet. And then walls that are just, that just, it's not, they're a bunch of flaws and things like that. It may be a good idea to get a paint job, depending on, if you're able to buy the other house without, all that kind of stuff. But I'm going through and pointing out the good and the bad. I'm being genuine, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be my job to sell it. If it doesn't sell because of one of these things I did or did not point out, that's on me. That's on me. Because I'm the professional. They're not the real estate professional. I'm the real estate professional. So we go through all that. We're building rapport. It's also showing that you know what you're talking about. Yeah, I had a house down the street. Hey, Steve, I had a house down the street. It had a similar type of situation. Let's say it's a cooking smell. And there's this big cooking smell. And it was a little bit tougher to do. And so I think we should probably paint this to get that smell out of there. But you got to be very careful about not offending them for their cooking smell. But I still had one down the street. It took a little bit longer to sell because we didn't do it. And I think we would have gotten more money for it. And it's like, oh, that's showing your knowledge, and you're also helping them, with getting more money for from their house. Okay. So all this is still building rapport, instilling confidence, establishing validity and credibility. Make sense?
Something I do when I first get to the house is I make a joke with them, similar to like you. It sounds like, I'm like, hey, do you want to play real estate agent and show me around? And they're like, oh yeah, sure, show me, just to kind of get them into a guard down
Absolutely.
mindset. Yeah.
And what I'll also do too is I'll say, but I would love it if would you point out the things that you love best about the house? Who knows this house better than anybody else? You do. So I know kind of what I look for from a real estate standpoint, but sometimes it's very helpful for me when you point out the things that you truly love about the house. And people love to talk about their house.
Yeah.
So
And there's your listing description right there.
there you go. I sometimes have our sellers write the listing description, especially our engineers and things like that. So the next thing we kind of talked about, so that's step number 2. And so we've gone through and done that now. We've seen the house. We've got a good feel for things. So that's next going on to step 3. Okay.
Can I just say something?
No.
One of, as administrator in this process, one of the best things, and Dave does it religiously, is he takes notes furiously in the house, what they do. And obviously it helps when he comes back, he can remember stuff. But I think as he's doing that, people are going, oh, he's taking this really seriously. This is really cool. And he walks out of there with pages and pages of notes in this Warno thing he's been carrying around for 20 years. But
and it'd be mumbo jumbo if you looked at it and stuff like that. But what it is it's just they're like, oh, this dude's a professional. He's taking all the notes. He's taking very careful notes of what I'm saying. He finds what I am providing him. He finds valuable. I like this.
And for us coming back, getting it in MLS, I don't have to call. They knew he did it. So we don't make mistakes in their listings. We don't have to call and say, hey, do you really have this thing? We've got it. We have it. We look like we have our act together all the way.
Well, in part of our marketing, one of my main marketing points, I input all my listings. For 33 years and 3,000 listings or whatever we've had, I've listed every single one of them, input it. Even when I co-list with my buyer's agents, I do that because the 2 most important things for me in any type of a real estate transaction or for when you're marketing property is number 1 is getting out accurate information to the public and other realtors. And I'm not going to hand that off to anybody else, period. And I know I'm one of the few, especially with these mega teams and everything like that, that they give to an assistant and whatever, and they don't do jack shit. I do that myself and always will, period. Because the buck stops with me, I'm going to make sure their information. And the second one is the photographs and things. And we'll get to that in the value proposition. So step number 3 is going over the comparable sales, okay, and the competition that we talked about. Everything comes down to supply and demand and motivation of sellers. So what we want to do first is go over comparable sales. Try to use, if you've got stuff in the same subdivision, don't try not to go outside school districts for sure. Try to keep it within the school district. Try to get as close as possible. I do a radius search for my comps to begin with. So I always try to get as close to the subject as I can, and try to get things that are similar. And I'd rather use a different style, like even if it's a buy level to a 2-story, I'd rather use a buy level in the same neighborhood than going outside to get a like property. I don't like making adjustments for school districts. It's very difficult to do. So be very good, be very diligent about your comps, okay? Because they do make a difference, and know those comps. And another little trick is if you don't know the area, or let's say that the subject property had a sale 2 doors down, right? And you're going over that comp. You want to know what a good trick is? Pull up who the owner was of the owner of the house 2 doors down, and kind of go, yeah, and 113 Regent Court, that I believe that was the Kirks that owned that. Oh yeah, we knew the Kirks. Did you know them? I've never met them. I know of them, and I knew that they owned that property. The only reason I know that own the property because I went and looked it up to get it so I could drop the name. But guess what that did? Oh my God, you know the Kirk? You must know everybody in this neighborhood. I'm not going to lie or anything like that. I'm just going to, oh yeah, it's part of that. That's one of the reasons why you called me probably because, I you see my name all over the place. Yeah, the Kirks were great. They sold that within 30, I think they sold that for 10,000 over list. Well, I'm going over the numbers. They sold for 10,000 list price, but I just solidified myself as a neighborhood expert because I knew the people and I didn't know them. I just dropped a name. So a little trick. Make sense? And then so I go over that gives me the range. So have you ever done one where you absolutely have no freaking clue to what the range should be, even after you go over sales? So there's a little trick with that too. So wider range, okay? So 550 to $600,000, which I like to usually keep it within a 20,000 to 30. I'll go that. And then based on the competition, this is kind of what I'm thinking that the house is worth. And I never ask them, never, but I say, this is the problem. So I've just went over everything with you. Then I go over the competition. I've gone everything with you. What did you think before you talked to me the price point was? Well, Dave, we were thinking it was closer to 600,000 than the 550. Absolutely. And this is just the range. And so really what it comes down to, Steve, is that it's all about, how you want to strategically, put your house to the market. I can see getting 500 grand, but my suggestion would be go to 679.8 to 689.8, and then let the market tell us if it's worth $600,000. Whereas if you tell them, no, I mean, I don't really know the difference. I'd rather go closer to 550 and stuff like that. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to go find someone that's going to get them closer to what they think it is. As long as you don't think it's way overpriced or overpriced, as long as it's within your range and you're comfortable with it. Because at the end of the day, I've had a couple times where it's like, oh, I don't think so. And guess what? I got it or above. And rule number one with any listing appointment, let's do Kathy. All right. Because she's shaking her head right now and going, this asshole just talks and talks and talks and talks. Kathy, what's rule number one on a listing appointment?
Get the listing.
There you go. You don't want it overpriced. You don't want it overpriced and things like that, but you want the listing because if they call someone else out, the chances are that person's going to get the listing.
They're going to tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah, and you don't want an overpriced listing because you'll get it the second time around or something. But if as long as it's within your range, because this market is still strange here. I just got involved in a bidding war for a $1.1 million house that we bid 50 some odd thousand, all this other stuff, and we weren't even close. So what we're trying to do with that is come up with the range, come up with the price, and then I always say, I do end it with, so I've gone over, this is what I think your house is. What do you think? Well, Dave, we thought it might be like 5,000 less than that, or, oh, we were thinking a little bit more. And I said, yeah, I can see that, but this is why we want to do it this way. Does that make sense? The market's going to tell us what it's worth. And then you use that so that you're kind of listening to what they have to say and you're giving affirmation that you've heard them and that, yeah, okay, because this is a team effort here. Does that all make sense? All right. So now we've got a price that we think it's going to sell at, right? Now we want to do the estimation of proceeds, okay? And if you want our estimation of proceeds, shoot us an email. Kathy left our emails, but our estimation of proceeds is that's all it is. And what we go over is we just go over title insurance policy, preparation deed bill sale, commission. So this is where you're going to have the commission talk if you're going to need to talk about it. Our transfer taxes and a home warranty if one's provided. Then we have a place for mortgage. And then we go over each and every fee with them, minus the mortgage. This is what you're going to walk away with. And then ask them, does that all make sense? Do you have any questions about any of the fees? Okay. And I would say 80% of the time, no, that all makes sense. It's kind of what we were expecting. Sometimes you'll come across any commission type stuff and everything like that. I get talk about commission maybe 5% of the time that even comes up. And with commission, I do go over, this is, so prior to August 17th of last year, or whatever it was, this was the way it was done. And I tell them the way it was done because a lot of my clients are older and that's what they remember, right? This is the way it is now. So, we're basically just, you and I are just going to negotiate my fee. And then you have the opportunity, if you want to make an offer of compensation to the buyer's agent. And I do go over the pros and the cons of it. But I say, you know what, it's totally up to you. But just so you know, too, when I do the estimation of proceeds, I'll just say, I'm just going to use 5%. Especially a lot of mine are repeat clients or their family members, and I give them the family discount. And that's what I go over the family discount, which is 2.5%. And then I just make the assumption of a 2.5% co-op, and I'll just go over why I'm doing that, just so we have the numbers to go over. Okay. And totally, and after I say that, totally your option if you want to make that offer or not. We've gone over the pros and the cons. It's totally up to you if you want to offer that or not. Okay. You want to know the percentage of people, of my sellers, that make an offer of compensation?
100%.
It is 100%. I've not had anyone. One of my buyer's agents, I think, goes out of her way to not do it. That also lists houses, but it's and I'm not trying to push them one way or another. But to me, and again, if you want my view on commission on this whole thing, is so if you don't make any offer of compensation, guess what you're going to get back every single time as a negotiation that you're going to negotiate from? 3% probably, right? Now, what if you make an offer of compensation of 2.5% rate up front? Guess how many of the agents are going to accept that 2.5%? About 100%.
I would.
Maybe 98%. Okay. The other aspect is, what if you have a buyer that tells their agent right up front, I don't have the money to pay your fee. Do not show me any houses where there's not an upfront fee of compensation. Can't go the vice versa, because that's steering. That's against the law. It's unlawful. I can tell you, we've had buyers that say, I can't pay your fee. Don't show me houses where there's no offer of compensation. I'll say, well, be careful about that too, because I can probably negotiate my fee within the contract, so this doesn't come out of your pocket. Do you still want me to show you those properties? Well, if you can do that, then okay. So any questions about commission? Are you getting any pushback on commission? Yeah.
There's no pushback, but just to add to what you're saying, if you come in confident and professional and show your value before you get to that commission conversation, it doesn't matter. And a lot of people don't want to push back on you for commission because they feel weird about it too. It's trying to negotiate. So it's all just how you lead up to the conversation.
People don't really want to negotiate.
Yeah, they really don't.
They don't want, they want, it's in that guide me, and I don't want to do this. How many people are really good at negotiating? Not very many.
Nope. And and sometimes too, like I'll have for sale by owners call me or something like that. And this is something that I use a lot. So what I'll do is I'll put together a scenario rather than saying you're on drugs to try to do this yourself. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You're an idiot. I'll soften it a little bit. What I'll do is I'll bring up a scenario. I'll say, okay, so we've all agreed that your house is worth about $350,000. Let me give you a scenario. Tell me how you would handle this. And I'll say, you've got two offers that just came in. One is for $350,000 cash. No other, typical contingencies, things like that. And then another offer comes in that's $360,000, but it's a finance offer. It's 20% down and everything like that. But they're going to do an appraisal and things like that. How would you handle that situation, Steve?
If it's 350 or 360.
350 cash, 360 finance.
Oh.
How would you handle that situation? How would you advise the seller?
Cash is king, typically. I mean, I would go with the cash offer.
Nobody
With
gets this.
360.
And this is
something
what
Dave does by
and,
himself. I
and this
swear.
is what a seller will say. That's why listen to what we're saying, okay? So Steve, I get that. And that's what a lot of people will say, but can I tell you how I would handle that particular situation?
Yeah.
Would that be okay? First thing we want to do is pick the best buyer, right? Which buyer is better, Steve? The cash offer or the person putting 20% down that's going to have an appraisal? Which is our better buyer?
It's all cash at the closing table.
So we're agreeing that the cash buyer is the better buyer. Steve, what I would want to do in that situation is I would want to leverage the $360,000 offer. I would want to go back to the cash offer and basically say, we have multiple offers. We love cash. If you're willing, if your buyer, if your buyer is willing to go to 360, we will move forward with your contract.
Yeah.
To the other agent and everything. You want to know how many times that comes back saying thumbs up? And what did Dave just get? I just got 10 grand more for my seller. Now,
I tell you, in all the years I've been doing this, he's the only person that does that. Only person I've ever seen that does that. So you got to have
Yeah.
no, it's
that
not,
in your head.
it's
It's not rocket science, but you got to have that.
it's understanding leverage, and it's understanding and again, and that will change in a seller's market as opposed to a buyer's market. But the other part of all of this too, it's reading who the agent is. It's reading, I mean, there's a lot of agents that will throw their client under the bus for a commission check in a heartbeat. And I know how to, I hate to use the term manipulate. I like to have them come to see my point of view. And then banks, appraisers, we have so many people in our business that put their finger in the pot. But the thing is, so think about doing that to a seller where you bring up that scenario and say, and Steve, you tell your client, this is how I'd handle it. Wow, Steve, you would have just gotten me an extra $10,000 and I would have gone with 350 cash thinking I could go back and counter based on that leverage of the 360. Guess what? You just became the man again. Steve, the man.
Just got the FISBO.
Yeah.
For 10 grand.
Yep. So these are different things that rather than saying I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread and I've got validity and credibility, show them. Bring that scenario. So we good? So so some people do the value proposition first and some people do the estimation of proceeds at the end, right? No. Money, go through all that stuff. And then the coup de grace is your marketing plan, your value proposition. This is the most important part of your presentation. If you do not understand your value and understand that you provide a value and that you can do things that other realtors cannot do, and you should have them on your value proposition, it's going to be tough. And I tell every single person when I do any type of listing presentations for training, if you don't think 100% that you're the best realtor for that particular listing, don't walk in the fucking door. Period. Because a brand new agent could beat me if they knew what they could do better than myself. But it's up to each one of us to understand our value proposition. There's certain things that a new agent can do that an experienced agent probably can't or doesn't even think about. So know the value proposition inside and out, because this is going to be the crescendo, and this is going to be the thing that is going to lead you to an assumptive close. I'm the worst salesperson in the world. I'm the worst closer in the world, but we get 93% of our listings. Okay. So I'm gonna go, we're at 156. Hopefully I'm not holding you up a little bit. I'm gonna go over my marketing plan, and you can ask for this marketing plan. This is all it is. There's no lights, there's no anything, there's no fireworks, there's no anything, but let me present it to you.
We're not the bring our iPad
Nope,
people.
nope, because I want them focusing on the information. I want them focusing on what I have to say. I don't want them distracted. Okay. This is part of that credibility and validity. You're looking them in the eye and things like that. I mean, this is all bonding. You're trying to create that. I wouldn't even think about listing with anybody but this person in front of me right now. That's what you're trying to create. And it's not made up. It's not anything. We know those 5 steps inside and out, that there's no way that they would want to even talk to another person. That's really the way we want to end this. Okay. So Lucas, we've gone over everything. So now what I'd love to do, if it's all right with your permission, is you've seen the commissions, you've seen all the numbers. Now what I'd like to do is kind of go over what we do to market the property. Would that be okay with you? I want to show you all the different ways that we're going to expose the home to the market, both to the end buyer and also to other realtors. And this is where we kind of set ourselves apart from the pack. And they're already thinking, God, you already done it, dude. Now what we want to do, crescendo. So Lucas, the 2 most important things for me, Lucas, when I'm listing a property, is the first thing is I want to make sure I get accurate information going out to the public and also to the other realtors. This is why I do not leave the input of the listing to anybody else but me. For 33 years, I'm the person that inputs my listing, because in Michigan, we have 32 different board of realtors, different multiple listing systems. I want to make sure that that information goes out accurately. At the end of the day, the buck stops with me. So we want to make sure that we get the information out there. We're an information gathering society. It's extremely important to get accurate information going out there. Make sense, Lucas? So I personally will go through and input this listing to make sure that we have it all out there. The second thing, Lucas, is photographs. Photographs, 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 photographs. It's a 97% chance that the buyer of your house is going to decide whether they want to see it based on the photographs. That's why we're going to have a professional company. They're going to come out and take still photos. They're going to come out and do a walkthrough tour. They're going to do a virtual tour. We're going to do aerial shots. And then we will make it a showcase listing for you as well, because your house is just one of those houses that we have to get in front of as many people as possible. So we're going to spend a little extra money, make it a showcase listing, because that's how we feel about the house. Make sense? So, and then this professional crafted video is going to be a walkthrough, as a buyer's going to see it. So we're going to walk through and basically through a buyer's eyes of what they're going to see when they walk through the house. We want them to be able to see all the features that we've discussed and that you've told us about the house. And we want to bring that in its best light. So that's why we're going to go through and do all these professional photography, pics, videos, aerials, because it's the most important thing we can do. The next thing, Lucas, that I'm going to do, because I'm old, I love Facebook. Okay. I like to advertise on Facebook. But here's the deal with Facebook. And Lucas, why do you think most people don't like Facebook?
They feel like a lot of scammers are out there.
What a lot of it is, are you familiar with cookies? Cookies are things that websites put into your search so that they can kind of track you and your buying habits. So what ends up happening, let's say you go to Amazon, look for a toaster, and then you come back to your Facebook page. Guess what you start getting ads for? Toasters, right? That sucks. And that's why a lot of people don't like Facebook. But think about it from a real estate standpoint, Lucas. I have an idea who my demographic and my target market is. What I can do is, we just talked about all the different videos and pictures and things like that we're going to do. I can now take that media, and I can now dial it in directly to who my demographic and my target market is. I'll boost your advertising on Facebook, and it will send it directly to their Facebook page, their Instagram account, their cell phone, and I'm not wasting valuable money in advertising marketing going out to people that will never care about your house. I'm dialing it in directly to the people that would be most interested. Does that make sense? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put it all over the internet. Okay. You're going to be on my website, realtor.com, Facebook, Trulia, Zillow, and over 350 additional websites. There's no website out there that you will not be on. The main one that we like to advertise on is Zillow. Okay. Do you want to know why we advertise on Zillow? Why do you think we do on Zillow, Lucas?
Every buyer's on there.
225 million unique visitors per month. And a lot of my colleagues and a lot of my fellow realtors say, Dave, you're paying for the demise of realtors. Because Zillow's out to take over our business and stuff like that. And I hear them, but I use, and she'll roll her eyes at this one because I use this all the time. I love the Jesse James quote. And do you know who Jesse James is, Lucas? He was a bank robber back in the day. Okay, he robbed banks and became very famous for robbing banks. And guess what? They asked him when they caught up with him, Jesse, why do you rob banks? Guess what the answer is? Where the money is. Where the money is. So why do I advertise on Zillow? 225 million unique visitors per month. We spend $10,000 a month to get premium placement for all of our listings. And we also do showcase listings. And your house is going to be a showcase listing, Lucas. So you're going to be able to take advantage of those 225 million views. Does that make sense? And I don't say this makes sense thing because I'm just doing that to emphasize because that sounds salesy and stuff like that. I don't use that last part, but just to kind of bring an end to the thought. And they're all like, really? You're going to do that? Because most of the realtors aren't going to do it. They're not spending the money on all these different things. They're going to be like, I'm so pretty on social media that I'm going to make your house sell. Bullshit. Next. The next thing, Lucas, that we're going to do is we are going to send a direct mailing market to target markets. So, Lucas, you live in a neighborhood. Who do you think are my best sources of leads for your house? I'm going to lead you. Who knows your neighborhood better than anybody else?
Neighbors.
Neighbors. So wouldn't it make sense, Lucas, that we would take a direct mail marketing and go at least around your subdivision and maybe go outlying areas and send out a just listed postcard saying, we just listed this house right near you. Who do you know that might be interested in this house? We find that the neighbors are one of our best sources of leads to find potential buyers because they know this neighborhood better than anyone else. So it may be an outline, like in Ann Arbor, we have, like, I live in Pinckney, which is 30 minutes outside of Ann Arbor. It's a little bit more rural, more laid back, and it's also cheaper. So if I send something out to Pinckney, a lot of those people are U of M professors and doctors and stuff like that don't want to pay Ann Arbor prices. And they made the conscious decision to move out a little bit, right? So you send out that mailing to that area, and then they come across one of their docs in the ER or whatever, and they go, man, we're looking up this 500,000 Ann Arbor. We can't find a damn thing. Why are you looking at Ann Arbor? This Mueller dude just listed something down our. This is every bit as nice as those neighborhoods in Ann Arbor. We live out here because this, and this. So the neighbors are going out and trying to provide information of why they should move out there. So we're going to hit your neighbors up. And one of the reasons why I love my job, Lucas, is my job is to get everybody else working for me. Your neighbors, other realtors, social media, Zillow. That's why I love my job, because I don't care who brings me the buyer as long as I can cast this wide net out. Does that make sense, Lucas?
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send a new listing information to all the real broker agents in our area and all the other companies. And the reason for that, Lucas, is that my business is a 90-10 business. 10% of the realtors do 90% of the business. So I have an idea of what of those 10% are probably going to most likely bring me the buyer, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together this social media presentation or, pics and videos and stuff like that. And then we're going to send that out to that 10%. We're going to send a mailing or an email out to them saying, hey, we've done business with you in the past in this area. You do a lot of business here. This is our new listing. Who do you have? Do you have someone right now that might be interested? Right? So now I'm getting all the other realtors that most likely bring me the buyer working for me as well. Does that make sense, Lucas? The next thing I'm gonna do is open houses. Most realtors tell you they're a waste of time. Bullshit. And capital B, capital S. We have sold 11, 12 houses this year from open houses directly. Not to mention people that came through the open house, then went back to their agent, saw the property, and then bought. And here's one of the reasons, and this is something that you should use in this, is that one of the things we talked about the compensation, now you don't have to make an offer of compensation. One of the other things that changed in the real estate industry, Steve, was now in order to see a view of home, you either have to sign a touring agreement or you have to sign an exclusive buyer agency contract. So basically the industry is forcing you to marry before you even date. Unless you do an open house. An open house is one of the ways that we can create less friction and allow buyers to come through and just see the property. And so they don't have to go through that process of signing a touring agreement and this, that, and the other thing. And not to mention, and what did I tell you early on about myself? I am much better in front of people. And so I don't work with buyers for the most part. I'm working with a couple right now. But do you think I'm at an open house every Sunday if I thought they were a waste of time? Hopefully you know me enough by my presentation to know I'm not a dumb shit, and I'm not going to waste my time if I thought it was a waste of time. Open houses are two of my most productive hours every week, whether I have people or not. But it's an opportunity. And the only thing I will tell you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is that if you don't hold a house open, you will not sell in an open house. That's the only thing I'll guarantee. We'll do feature sheets. And I know those are passe now. We do professional feature sheets. We see that, especially with relocations and stuff, they like to take notes. They have all the information right there. We still do feature sheets. And then we'll have a sign the R with an info box attached. Price and everything's in there. I'm not going to do this bullshit, no price and stuff like that. Make you call me, stuff like that. Information gathering society. Give them the frickin' information or they're going to call somebody else. So, Steve, Lucas, if you haven't listened to a damn thing I've said for the past hour, you haven't missed a damn thing, okay? I'm going to go over the most important thing in marketing a property. Bar none, end of story. We're going to get back to you within 24 to $40 of every showing as soon as the agent gets back to us. And here's the reason why that's important and why that's where the tires hit the pavement is what I think your house is worth, nobody cares. What you think the house is worth does matter because you've got to feel good about an offer you take or don't take. What we want to find out is what a buyer that's pre-approved and money in their pocket, if they're showing your listing, Lucas and Steve, guess what they're also doing? They're showing your competition. So we want to find out, how do we stack up against them as far as price, condition, and get that feedback. We make 9 attempts for feedback, 92% success rate. You have 10 showings, you get 9 feedbacks. One of the biggest questions I get, Steve and Lucas, is when do you start thinking about a price reduction? It has nothing to do with time. It has nothing to do with time. You're going to get that feedback the same time I do. A lot of times my sellers call me or text me and say, Dave, I got the last few feedbacks. I think we might want to think about doing a price reduction. Yeah, I was about ready to call you about that too. So that's what we utilize if we need to do any price changes or anything like that. Okay. But we want to get that information because I'm not the one buying your house. It's these buyers. And we will get you that information so that, and this is a team approach. We need to work on this together. Make sense, guys? The next thing we're going to do is select showing instructions, optimize showings, and fit your lifestyle. Is you've got to still live in your house if it's not vacant. We're going to be as flexible as we can getting people through your property, but we understand that you're still living in your home. It's a personal thing. So we're going to arrange these showings so that they're not inconvenient for you, but we get the people through to see it. Lastly, is we're going to talk about your property to all of our agents at Real on a Tuesday meeting. Very rarely are we having to talk about a house the second or third week because most of our homes sell within 7 to 10 days. If we've priced it well, and the house is in good condition, it shouldn't take longer than that to sell. Make sense? Lastly is my overall responsibility. My overall responsibility obviously is to sell the property. It's also to handle all the details during the marketing period from sale to close. We'll arrange inspections, make sure the appraisal comes in, get the title work taken care of, get all the contingencies removed, contact the purchaser's lender. We vet every lender. So we pick up the phone and call every single lender to verify that they have done all those different things that the letter says. We don't trust them. We're going to call. I want it on. I want in. We want to hear it. And arrange closing. In short, Steve and Lucas, there's only two things we require from our sellers. First one is make the house as presentable as possible. The second one is make the house as easy as possible to show. Everything else, you'll take care of. Can you do those two things, Steve and Lucas? Steve and Lucas, any questions on any of the information that we talked about? Any questions about the comps, as far as what we think the house is worth, the price range, what you're going to walk away with, or what we're going to do to sell your property? Do you have any questions on any of that? That's the answer 92% of the time. So are you ready to get going, Stephen, Lucas? Are you ready to start? You ready to get this going? Are you ready to go? Ready to rock and roll? But not a lot of time. Ready to rock and roll and get this thing done? Let's get it done. And you want to know what the answer is 90% of the time? Why wait? Or they'll look and go, well, we had a couple of other appointments. And they'll look at, husband to wife and go, and the wife will go, why wait? Make sense? That's my close. That's my close. I suck. I suck. But if you've done everything correctly, steps 1 through 5, and you've done it from the initial phone call to what we just ended with, you understand why the success rate's pretty good. So obviously I talk a lot, talk fast, pontificate, all kind of good stuff. What questions y'all have?
So, question. Are you signing the paperwork with them there in person, or do you
Yes.
send it electronically?
No.
Okay.
She laughs at me too. I'm a big in-person person, so I try to do it right then and there. And not because of, I'm that salesperson, I'm going to sign right now and shit like that. No, because what I like to go, I like to explain everything. I like to go over everything. Dot loop, people send
Can
the
be very dangerous.
yeah, people send the shit that people don't understand it, and they sign stuff they don't understand. I go through the listing contract just like I go through everything because I want them to understand what they're signing. Okay, and no, so in some of my clients was like, Dave, can't we just do this by dot loop? And I said, I prefer to do it in person. This is why. Okay, so I like to do everything in person because the other part of it too is I'm just better in person. Okay. That's just and then with documents, I'm always scared that someone's going to sign something they don't understand and they won't ask the question. But if I'm there, and I can read the body language if they don't understand something. Okay. So I prefer in person right then and there. Now, sometimes I will come back, but 98% of the time I do it in person. 2% would be people that are out of country, and I get access to the house. I do the presentation and stuff, and I know I've got the list. I'm not competing or anything like that because I want them to get the full experience because I want them to understand what they're hiring and what they're getting. Not to mention, I just love to hear myself talk.
So I have a question. This is your listing consultation presentation. I'd be curious to see your buyer. I know you're not working with them, but I'd be curious to see.
You're gonna get
Is that
that.
what I'm doing?
You're gonna get this next week.
Okay. All right.
I'm
cool.
getting Roto-Rooter next Wednesday. So Kathy, colonoscopy, is that bad to say Roto-Rooter?
Yes, it's not what they're doing.
Oh, my bad. Kathy's been begging to have one of these by herself where I'm not talking. And so she's gonna
You
be,
just need ear.
You have to understand this. She's been with me for so long that she's heard all this stuff a million times. But yeah, we're gonna bring in one of our buyer's agents to go over their buyer presentation. It's going to be a little bit different. The tonality and the dynamic aspect of it's going to be a little bit different. But that's the good, cool part is you're going to get to see different personalities at play. But we'll do a buyer. And so the other thing is, do I use any of Sharon's stuff? No. And yeah, and I hate to tell you this has not changed much in 30 years.
It has websites on it.
Yeah, I mean but
Didn't used to.
and so my question to you is, do you think it matters? I mean, it does matter what's on there, because if you heard all the things I said, don't I pretty much get, I mean, I target pretty much any part where I would find a buyer, but it's more how you present it. And through the whole thing, I've kind of just taken this over from them. Okay. They're just like, oh my God. Hey, oh, we trust you. We trust you. You the man. And that is something that to this day, and I sometimes tear up about it, so just be careful, is people are entrusting you with the largest financial asset they will probably ever have. And when they entrust you with that, take that with great, great responsibility. And to this day, I feel that. I feel that. We've sold 5,500 homes, but I can tell you, and then when I get a referral, it's this person said, if you call anybody else, you're on drugs. That to me today, I'll just sit back and go, oh man, thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you. Because if you do business the right way, if you under promise and over deliver, and really, really care about your clients and always put your clients' needs before your own, that's how you build a successful business. That is how you build a successful business. Sales types will never survive in this industry long term. They'll survive short term. But it's people that truly care, love what they do, care about their clients, and bring the white glove service, and always under promise, over deliver. Period. So any other questions?
Do you have like when he talks about your radius search, do you have a general rule of thumb, like a basic how you
So,
recommend doing comps?
yeah, the hard part is going to be where, so if you're in a more of a metro area or if you're in an urban area. So, I mean, we've got places out in the sticks that you're going to have to do a 3 to 5 mile radius. Now, my preference always is going to be, first of all, school district, right? Keep it in school district. My preference would be to get things closer, but like when you go rural, you're going to have to go further out to get good comps. And then the other part too is, like, if you've got a luxury type home out in the sticks, and then all the comps are small little 1,000 square foot ranches that are on 50 acres and they're not real nice houses, don't use those as comps. You're gonna have to find at least something that's at that level of house. And that's why when there are times when my comps aren't great and I'm kind of stabbing in the dark as far as the value and concerned about what the seller says. And so I use that one trick that we were talking about. I use a wider radius. Never ask your client what you think the house is worth. And that's one of the big mistakes that most realtors do, because when you do that, my question would be, why the hell am I calling you if you're asking me what my home is worth? I thought that's why I was calling you. So instantaneously, you just lost credibility and validity. I don't care what you do after the fact after that. I won't trust you. If you're asking me, I won't trust you. So that's why I'll do even like, let's say it's if you're in $1 million to $2 million type price range, it may even be $100,000 to $200,000. And then, based on the comps and stuff like that, this is where I'm coming in at. What were your thoughts before you talked to me? And they'll kind of tell you, and then you kind of play off that. As long as you're comfortable where the price point is. When you start getting up to, 1.1, 1.45, whatever, I mean, like I said, this one I didn't think was worth more than we offered for it, and they're going to get I don't know what it'll end going.
We'll
So
see.
those are different things that and you got to feel pretty confident about your value. But in those times that you're not, you gotta play off what they say, and then also play off. I mean, because if you're way off, you'll know it. You'll see the look. You'll see her going like that. You'll know it, and then you're gonna have to do some quick stepping on that. It doesn't happen very often. The other part would just be in more of a, if you're in more of a metro area, I would try to keep it within the subdivision or like subdivisions. But yeah, in the rural areas, you might have to go out further for those comps. And like I said, always feel free. You've got a bunch of people in your areas that can, or your broker and things like that, if you're not comfortable. But if you want to run it by me, you've got my email address. Say, hey, Dave, these are my comps and stuff like that. Just, just off the top of your head, just looking at the comps. And that's also why I am more comfortable now driving an hour for a listing, where I would refer anything outside of my county. Back when I first got started, we didn't have the information. Now I have access to all the information throughout the state of Michigan. So I will drive an hour any direction for a listing, especially if it's a referral or someone that I know or something like that, then I 100%, I'll drive further than that. But because I'm confident, the only thing I don't want to do is ever not know the area well enough to be able to come up with the correct value. I already know I can market better than any of the realtors out in that area, as far as my wide net. So it was more of, can I come up with an accurate value? Back a few years back, before all this stuff, I didn't feel that way. I do now.
So when it comes to your open houses, you don't hand them off to somebody?
Again, I always look at what's in the best interest of the client. So like I've got some stuff in Detroit that I could do Detroit, but I know someone in Detroit that works just in Detroit. So I'm just going to send it to them. I love just making a 15-minute phone call and getting 25, 30% referral. That I'll do that all day long. If I think I can come up with the value, like there's suburbs between us and Detroit, like Westland, Garden City, Dearborn Heights. I'm 100% comfortable going there, and we'll go there. But part of that, who's the person? Who's the individual? Because if it's someone that I don't know already, or I don't have a great conversation with, I refer it out. I pick and choose who I work with. Obviously, it has nothing to do with fair housing. It has to do with whether you're a prick or not.
Gotcha.
And I have a no pricks policy.
They're not a protected status, Dave.
Nope, they're not protected status. That's why I definitely do not work with pricks.
Last question. So it's imperative, you have a listing, you have to send out the neighborhood postcards. You have to I think you said you're a premier agent.
Doesn't have to go out. These are things that we're gonna do. These are things that we're gonna do. Now, typically when we do the neighborhood one, we're not gonna send that out for a couple of weeks. Because what we want to do is, and I don't tell them this, we like to do a couple of waves. We like to do that first wave, and then we want to, if it doesn't sell in that first 5 to 7 days, then we're going to try to create some more interest by sending out the postcard. We have every intention of sending out the postcard, but the great thing about our market is most of our stuff's selling within a couple of days. And if it's in good condition, I price it correctly, it should sell within a couple of days. Will I pull back that postcard? Yes. And I'll just send out a sold afterwards. Yes.
Okay, because I've done stuff, and then it's like San Antonio is like 88 days on market average, 10K seller concessions, and it's just like I have like listings, and I put this money into it, and then they end up wanting to like rent it or something, or it's just too long. So then I'm like, I just lost money. So I like that idea of waves. I feel like it's really, really good.
Yeah. And sometimes it's even good to say that we're going to do a primary wave, then we're going to do a secondary wave. The other part, all this. So this value proposition is got to be very personal to you, what you can do, what you cannot do. So financially, some of the stuff we're doing is some people can't afford to do a lot of the marketing stuff that we do. Sometimes we can't afford to, but we do it anyways. But you know, the cost of doing business is the way I look at it. Just like now they've got real capital where you can, you know, borrow against some of the stuff. But what this really comes down to, and the only reason it's probably even worth listening to me, this comes from 32 years from the market of the moments. There's been so many market of the moments where the market's changed and things like that. And so some things have worked and some things haven't worked. What this is the byproduct of is things that have traditionally worked the whole time. And like I said, our days on market is we do have a couple that have taken a little bit longer, but what is the number one thing about real estate? Real estate is local. Real estate is local. So you want to adapt your marketing plan to your local real estate market. And you may have different clientele than I have, right? Ann Arbor is a funky place in the outlying areas. We have the millionaire next door type mentality where the people walking around, you would think they don't have two pennies to rub together and they could buy and sell me 10 times over. And we're tree hugger capital of the United States. So these are different things that we have to keep in mind when we're marketing to our target market. Know your local market.
Okay.
Any other questions?
You were going to ask me a question, Kathy?
I was just gonna ask, I didn't hear where you were from.
Yeah, White Plains, New York. It's about a half hour north of New York City. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's $100,000 price point, right?
No.
The medium is like, 970 right
Yeah,
now.
a million. I was going to say a million. Yep.
Yeah. And that doesn't really get you anything. So
I lived in Boston for a while and
yeah.
no, wouldn't put your dog in houses and this was a long time ago, so
Yeah.
terrible.
So we'll be recording this too. So if you want to go back and look at it, and again, you've got our email. If you ever want to reach out to us, we're really easy to find too. So anything that we can help. And again, Lucas, the biggest thing you're going to find out is Real Broker is all about sharing. There's no silos or none of that bullshit. It's all about, we're all here to help each other out. And it's not just within the state and all that kind of good stuff either. It's, you know what, it sounds, we is bigger than I. And the other part too is that, anything that we can do to assist is good for everybody. So we are here and, we're both getting on in our real estate lives where we'd like to do more training and mentoring and things like that. But my ex-wife made sure that was going to happen longer than I thought it was.
Thank you.
I
Thanks,
gotta jump.
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.